Welcome to the How to Do Your 20s podcast. This is going to be a little bit of an unusual episode. I'm going to talk about this episode. I'm going to talk about the things that I've learned in the last 3 months. It's a little bit of like a quarterly review, giving you a little bit of an update, what I've been up to, some of the things I've learned. There's a couple different things that I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about the 3 biggest lessons I learned in Q1. That's January, February, and March. And 3 factors to success that I've recently found out in someone that I find to be very successful. I looked at what is making this person successful, and I'll give those 3 really quick right now, but it's just doing things it's speed of implementation is the fancy way of saying it. So the people that have an idea and they implement it quicker tend to do better than people that spend a lot of time researching. I'll dive in deeper to all these later, but so that's that one. Then there's leveraging people. And what I mean about this is you're not supposed to try to do this whole living thing on your own. It's supposed to be a team effort. As humans, we're a social type of animal. We can use other people to help us get to our own goals. We'll talk more in depth about that. And the last one is strategy. And a lot of successful people I see, they're really good at strategizing. So we'll talk about all those later. But first, let me give you a little update of what I've been up to. I moved out to Vegas on February 1st. So I've been out here in Vegas for a few months. And the reason I moved out here is a friend of mine owns a house that's full of a bunch of people, a bunch of entrepreneurs. Everyone in the house, except for me, is doing YouTube. So basically what they do is they put up kind of those viral videos that gets a lot of ad revenue. They make money off the ad revenue. So YouTube says, hey, we made $1,000 in ads off this video. Here's $500. Thanks for putting your video up. So that's how they're making their money. Now, the reason that I came out here is I met this guy, Adam, I met in Medellin, Colombia about 2 years ago, I believe, maybe 2.5 years ago. And at the time, he was traveling around. He was making about $300 plus a day. I don't know the exact number, but at the time it was over $300 a day passive income. And he wasn't really working a lot. And I thought that was really awesome. He was also just an awesome guy to hang around with. He's very go with the flow. There's a lot of good aspects to him. It's just one of those kind of people that when you hang out with him, you're I want to know more about this person. How do they tick? What makes them work, basically. So that's kind of what brought me out to Vegas. And so this last few months, I've been working a lot on my YouTube channel, Effective E-commerce. Check it out. Type in Effective E-commerce into YouTube. You'll see some of my videos there. And on that YouTube channel, I teach people how to start e-commerce stores. So the goal's been to basically raise up my consulting, mastermind, and income coming from products. I ended up making a info course, a product on how to build a e-commerce store. It was a lot of work. Basically, I was inspired by, I'm hanging out with Adam and I was asking a lot of people, why do you think Adam's so successful? Now he's making probably about $100,000 plus a month. I mean, he's making a lot of money. And it was one of those things that I'd ask all the different people working with him, what do you think makes him successful? And almost the unanimous answer was that if he gets an idea, he just does it and asks questions later. Where most people, including myself, they want to do a lot of research. They want to make sure they do it right. This guy, Adam, learns more from his mistakes. He learns by doing, which I think is extremely powerful. And there's a lot of scientific research saying that that's what you should be doing. Speed of implementation is one of the number 1 factors for success. So there was that. So I decided, kind of inspired by that I'm going to make a course on how to start an e-commerce store. I called it the 25K e-commerce profit plan. It was an insane amount of work, but I was really happy I did it. It took me probably 3 to 4 weeks of just working on it nonstop. I'm still doing some work on tweaking it, but it's already launched. I ended up pricing at $97, which is pretty cheap, to be honest. I probably should charge a lot more for it, but that's okay. I'd rather get people to buy the course than I'd rather have 2 people buy the course at $97 than 1 person at $247. Even though that 1 person, I'd be making more money from it, I'd rather share this knowledge with more people. I still I don't want to give it away for free because people don't value things that they get for free, and it took me a lot of time, so it's definitely something that I'd want to charge for. So there's that. What else? I did a lot of cool things. this last quarter, but most of it was just working on effective e-commerce. And I've been making some money off masterminds. And masterminds are basically where you get a group of 5 to 6 people together and you talk about a certain topic. And maybe it's like, how can I improve my online store? And I get all these entrepreneurs together and try to figure out how they can improve their online store. And I make a decent amount of money from that. I think I charge between $79 to $99 a month, depending on a couple different factors for that. And since there's 5 to 6 people, I end up making about $100, maybe $80 to $100, depending on how many people are in a group per hour doing that. Plus, I also enjoy it. So I think that one of the things that I realized for this quarter, this year actually in general, I want to make more money that I know is actual profit, as opposed to when I'm working on my main e-commerce site, Be Dancewear. When I work on that, there's a lot of cost. So just because we made $30,000 in revenue, we might have still lost $5,000. And it takes a lot of work trying to figure out. There's not a direct correlation between how much money we make and how much profit we have, where if I do consulting, for instance, and I charge $100 an hour, I made $100 in that hour, period. I can go spend that money. There's no kind of calculations that need to be done. And it's something I enjoy doing. So the reason too I'm doing the coaching and the masterminds is so I can gain knowledge and create courses and create passive income. So the goal with the course is eventually it's going to be passive income. And I'll do a few more courses as well. Like I'll do a course on how to do Facebook ads for your e-commerce store, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one of the things that I did. And I think the speed of implementation thing was a really big one. So I'm going to take a second here to talk about 3 of the factors to success that I saw in Adam that I want to try to incorporate more in myself. The first one is just doing it and not waiting. And I really want to do more research on this because I think this is something I can make a whole episode about. But basically, a lot of people want to wait for the perfect time to do something or the perfect, whatever it is before they take that step and actually take a step towards their dream, whatever it is, their dream job, their dream, living in their dream location. But especially with business, I think people are kind of scared to jump off the high dive, but it's like that's how you learn. And if you jump off the high dive enough, it's like you get better at figuring out when is the right moment to do it and like how to best do things quickly. So I think that's one of those things that I really want to incorporate more into my life. The next one is leveraging other people. So a big part of how Adam makes a lot of his money is he co-owns YouTube channels with someone. So he taught other people how to make money off YouTube like he did, and he owns the channel 50-50 with them, which is awesome. That's a great way to create some other passive income because it's basically you're teaching someone how to build a YouTube channel, and they're going to get a lot of value out of that, and you're as well. So one thing that I want to start incorporating in my life is I want to teach people how to start an e-commerce store and really hands-on, co-own an e-commerce store with people. Now, that person's going to do more of the work, but I'm going to teach them the right work to do, and I'm going to teach them how to do it. So I think that in the coming year or two, I'd like to help people start e-commerce stores and own it and be 50-50 partners with them. So I can use all the knowledge that I've learned about how to start an e-commerce store, and they can get a source of passive income. And the goal is that they'd make way more money doing it with me than they would without me. That way it makes sense to give up that 50% to me. So leveraging people and leveraging their strengths is something that I think is extremely important, and it's something that I don't do enough of. I try to do everything by myself for the most part. And here's a little story that I think incorporates this message. So it's kind of a funny story, but basically when you're talking about post-apocalyptic worlds, so surviving the zombie apocalypse. So one thing that I like the show The Walking Dead, and I watch that show, and you constantly kind of thinking about it in a half joking, half serious way, if the end of the world came, how would I survive? So I was talking with Adam about this, and I'm like, okay, well, if the end of the world comes, you need obviously a food supply, you need water, probably want some guns, maybe a machete or something that's not doesn't need ammunition and all that stuff. And Adam owns the house that I'm living in right now, and he also owns a second house called the Ranch or Project Ranch, depending on what you want to call it. And that's a 2-acre piece of property, and there's probably like 8 to 10 people that live out there. And I'm like, yeah, the ranch is, like, what would it take to make the ranch secure against a zombie attack? It's like, oh, we'd probably want to plant some food. We'd want some farm type stuff. A decent fence, obviously. What else would we want? We'd want water supply. That's important. It has a well, which is kind of nice. Solar, probably want to install some solar panels. But then he said something that I hadn't ever thought about before. He's like, well, people. You obviously want people if you're going to survive the zombie apocalypse. And I'm like, huh. I've always kind of thought about it like, well, I need to survive, not like I need a group of people around me to survive. But the truth is that if you have a bunch of people, then it's easier to fight off the zombies. It's easier to do the farming. It's easier to do all this stuff. And that was kind of a revelation moment for me, because I realized I've been trying to fight the zombie apocalypse by myself. And it's like, how can I incorporate a team of people? How can I get more people on my side? And maybe some of them you have to pay. So maybe I need to hire an assistant. Maybe it's just increasing my social circle. Maybe it's like I would like to do in teaching people how to start e-commerce companies and getting a percentage of their income. So leveraging people in a way where it's a win-win situation. The last success factor I saw in Adam is that strategy. He's a big proponent of strategy, plays a lot of strategy type games, and I found this extremely interesting. So one thing I'm going to start doing is reading more books on strategy and trying to figure out how to become better at creating strategies and just generally strategic thinking. So I have a couple different books that I downloaded. I downloaded one book it's just called like Strategy, A History of Strategy or something like that. It's a little boring. I don't really recommend it, but it's a great book to read before bedtime. I have the audiobook, so it's a great book for me to listen to before bed, because it's interesting enough that my mind doesn't wander. So it's like I'm paying attention to it, but it's boring enough that it helps me fall asleep. So those are the 3 success factors that I really saw that I want to start incorporating more in my life. Now I want to talk about the 3 biggest lessons that I learned. So the 3 biggest lessons I learned are that it's worth paying money to save myself time. It's, maybe I need to try to start outsourcing more in my life. I try to do a lot of tasks on my own, and especially the boring tasks. I'd love to start outsourcing, picking up groceries or just stupid things like that you have to do. That it's like I'd pay someone $10, $20 to go pick up my groceries, because I could be doing such more valuable things in my time. The next thing is I need to minimize things that can stop me, that are outside my control. And what I mean by this is, like, a lot of times I have a virtual assistant and I'll give her a task, and I expect her to be done with that by tomorrow. And if she's not, it totally screws me up. So I need to find ways to minimize that. And the last one is just doing things and learning. And then, like I said, this is a really big thing that I'm trying to work on, speed of implementation. So let's talk about it's worth paying money to save myself some time. So I ended up hiring someone for the Effective E-commerce logo, and I ended up paying $80. I thought I was only going to pay $50, but there's a ton of different issues with that. And one thing I realized is there's other sites that would have been a little bit more expensive, but it would have been worth it because I wouldn't have had to worry so much. I hired this outsourcer for $50, and he wasn't very good, and there was a lot of back and forth and stuff like that. And it's like, you know what, maybe it would have been better just to spend a little bit more money and get something of quality that I didn't have to worry about so much. The other thing to talk about with that is I spent a lot of time this last few months but like kind of dreading going to the grocery store or running routine tasks because I really just wanted to work. So it's like I was doing all these things that I had to do because it's like, if I don't go to the grocery store, I don't eat, but I was kind of dreading them. So eventually when I get more settled in, I want to get all that stuff outsourced, get like a regular schedule in the sense of every Monday or every Wednesday or whatever day it is, I have someone come and drop off groceries to me. I have all these like basic things. I do want to get a personal assistant as well. So that's another one of those things that I'm going to look at doing. But something else that I learned is I need to minimize things outside of my control from being able to stop me. There was a task that I gave to my virtual assistant, and I needed her to finish it before I could do my work. So I woke up the next day because she works, she's a different time zone, so she's working while I'm sleeping, and she didn't get the task completed. and it kind of stopped me in my tracks. So that is something I found over and over again. There was these things outside of my control that I was waiting for, or maybe it's like, I order something online and it doesn't get to me in time, or whatever it is that I need to be a little bit more aware of and try to fix. The last thing, and I'm going to really reiterate this point because I believe in it, is just speed of implementation, doing things. Like if you have an idea that you really believe in, just doing it rather than trying to plan it out and do a ton of research. It's like, just do it. And then you get better at doing the research necessary. You get better. It's a skill to have. So I think it's one of those things that I'm going to really be working on. So here's some other lessons I learned as well. I am an extrovert. I need to start incorporating more social time into my schedule. And the problem is if I wait until I feel kind of burnt out, or if I wait till I'm really craving that social time, it's too late, because then it's like, let's say I'm working from home and I'm just working for a few days, and then I'm really kind of like down, then I'm not going to have that motivation to go out and be social. So I think the key is to kind of schedule it within your week. So it's like maybe every Monday night I go get dinner with friends. Every Tuesday I go to a dance class or a yoga class or something like that. I think that's something I really want to change. And again, this is one of those things that I'm not going to probably be able to change until I'm in a city for longer than 3 months. I've probably lived in 6 different cities for just a 3-month period. I think it's time for me to settle down somewhere, which is one of my New Year's goals. So at this point in the podcast, I'll talk a little bit about my goals for this next quarter. And here are some of the goals. One of them is to get the course that I already released, the 25K e-commerce profit plan, to get it ready to be a standalone thing where I don't need to give it any more attention. And some of the things that I need to do for that is get like a email campaign going. There's a couple different videos that I need to have going. Basically, I'm going to release some special YouTube videos that are promoting the course, but also have good material, like how to start an e-commerce store. But then within that video, it's like, if you want to know more information about how to start an e-commerce store, go buy my 25K e-commerce profit plan. Basically, I want to tie off all the loose ends to this course. There's a couple things I need to fix within the course as well. Add some links and do some video editing. But there's that. That's it for that. And then the other thing I realized is, so the next goal I have is Africa. I'm going to be in Africa for a little over 3 weeks, right around 3 weeks, something like that. So my goal is to just have fun in Africa and not worry at all about money or my businesses. I'm just going to really try to enjoy it. And I thought a lot of that's a great goal to have, but how can I measure if I'm living in the moment? And I know that's kind of a goofy thing to say, but I think one of the things I realized is my goal is going to be to check my email as little as possible. And I think I'll be somewhat flexible about it. Maybe it's like every 3 days or once a week or whatever it is. But if there's emergencies, obviously I'll make an exception. But the real goal is to check my email and my statistics as little as possible, because I have a tendency to want to check how my sales are doing and all that kind of stuff. The last goal I have for this upcoming quarter is work on my main site, BeDancewear. So the month of June, I will be in LA. I'll be living back home with the parents because that is where my production facility is located. So I'll probably be back in Santa Clarita for 2 months and just really working on BeDancewear, my main e-commerce business. And I have a couple different goals that I have for that business, but I think that I'm going to spend June and July working strictly on BeDancewear and try to get everything ready for this upcoming season. So last thing I'll talk about is one thing I failed at. I made these New Year's resolutions, and I'm doing a quarterly review every quarter. So, the 1st of April, 1st of July, 1st of October, I guess. October, November, December. Yeah, that sounds right. Something like that. So every 3 months, I'm just rechecking in with my goals. And one of the ones I'm failing at is stretching. I am not as flexible as I'd like to be. My goal is to be able to I don't remember if it was to be able to touch my toes or to be able to get my palms on the floor, but I want to be much more flexible, and I haven't been taking that seriously. So one of the ways that I'm going to try to remedy that situation is by incorporating stretching more into my daily routine. And one of the thoughts I had is that after I'm done working every day, I spend 20 to 30 minutes stretching, and then I do a kind of review of what I did that day and start scheduling for the next day. So that's one of the ideas I had. So basically stretch, do a little quick review on what I did today and what worked, what didn't work, and then start planning for the next day. Because I like to do that. I like to plan my tasks the day before I need to do them rather than the day of. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Guys, I have a bunch of hidden episodes that you can get by going to howtodoyour20s.com, sign up for the email, I think it's like says become a VIP or something like that. Basically, when you do that, I'll send you a link to all the other episodes I've done. I've talked about it in other episodes, the special episodes I do, but if you like this content, you're going to love the hidden episodes, so definitely check that out. And yeah, send me an email, travis@howtodoyour20s.com. If you like the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Every once in a while, I do hear from someone. And it's really cool to hear that people are listening to the show and they enjoy it. So thanks for listening, and I will talk to you guys in a few weeks. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did, make sure you hit the big red subscribe button down below. You can also check me out on Facebook and on Twitter. And I release a new video every Monday. And by hitting that subscribe button, you'll get those new videos every Monday. And this is really a podcast. It's also a website. You can check out the website. It's howtodoyour20s.com. I'll put a link right over here as well. And what it's all about is trying to improve your life. And we specifically focus on things that people in their 20s are interested in. So make sure you like the video if you liked it. Subscribe. Like us on Facebook and Twitter, whatever. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again on another video.